What's up, you guys? This is Julian, or you can call me JP, representing JP Fitness. Today's video is going to be on strength training. About 4 days ago, I did a video on hypertrophy training or gaining muscle. Again, if you want to check that out, please check that out on my channel. You can go down there below. Again, today's video is on strength training, and let's get started. Strength training is the ability to produce a maximal contractile force. It is basically what you can push one time with max effort. So if someone can push on a bench press 315 or 400 pounds, you can say that they are a fairly strong individual. They are strong. Again, you can factor body weight into it. If someone weighs 400 pounds and they're bench pressing 400 pounds, that's probably not the best. If someone weighs 150 pounds but they're benching 400 pounds, that's ridiculously strong for someone their weight. But again, it's what they can press one time, not what they can push a lot of times. Some people have good muscular endurance, which is what they can do for that exercise over a longer period of time, but they can't push a heavy weight one time. Like some people may be able to bench press 135 pounds 30, 40, 50 times, but they can't break 225, or maybe they can't break 250, which means that they have good muscular endurance, but they're not strong. Again, it's ability to produce a maximal contractile force, your max rep, one rep. Now, what factors influence strength? The predominant and primary factor that influences strength is your central nervous system. Strength gains are more of a nervous system factor than anything else. It is your central nervous system. But increased muscle cross-sectional area, or to put it more simple, muscular hypertrophy does play a factor into this in numerous ways. But again, it's predominantly a central nervous system adaptation. Let me put this in a good analogy for you. We are made up of our muscle fibers, and our muscle fibers contract to lift things up. They contract to lift up a weight is what we do. They work in unison to lift up a weight. Now think of a rowboat. Think of a rowboat with 5 people on each side. They're in the ocean. If each one of those people rows a boat randomly, they don't row it hard. Like, let's just say none of them, they're not in sync with their rows, and they don't row that very hard, and they don't row that very fast, then they're not going to go very far. The boat's not going to go very far, and if it does go any distance at all, it's probably going to go sporadic, and it's not going to go very straight. Think of those people, think of one individual as one muscle fiber. We have a lot more than just 10 muscle fibers in our body, but let's just keep it as simple as that for now. But think of that one person as one muscle fiber. So it is a central nervous system adaptation is what strength is based off of. So basically a strong individual has, you can say it in this way, that they have a good central nervous system. They have a very adapt central nervous system. How does the central nervous system play a factor? You might ask, is increased muscle fiber recruitment. Now back to the boat example. Let's just say of the boat, there's 5 people on each side. Let's just say only 6 people are rowing. There's 4 people, 2 on each side that aren't even rowing. That may be someone, like in strength training, that may be someone who's not recruiting all their muscle fibers. Again, the boat example is if there's 2 people on each side that aren't rowing, they're not going to be able to push the boat as far. Same thing with strength training. If someone's squatting a heavy weight and their body is not used to squatting, they don't squat that often, their body's not going to know how to recruit all the muscle fibers it can to be able to push a maximal weight. That is one of the factors in how you get stronger, is your body learns to recruit all muscle fibers to generate maximal force at one time. Now the second central nervous system adaptation is increased fiber firing rate. Back to the boat example again, because it's a perfect example. Let's just say everyone starts to row, so they start going faster, but let's just say they're not really rowing that fast. They're not. They're just rowing like maybe one row every 3 seconds. So it's good that they're firing in unison, but they're not firing they're not rowing the boat that fast. Now let's just say you told them all double your speed, double your speed. The boat is going to start going a lot faster because everyone's rowing, which is the first adaptation, and now everyone's rowing faster, which is again the second adaptation. That is the second adaptation people see when they're doing strength training. Using a squat again, for example, or a bench press, or any exercise you want to take. Their body learns how to recruit all the muscle fibers it can over time when you train that way. And it now learns their muscle fibers learn to fire faster to push more weight. Their muscle fibers start firing faster, and all of them fire to move a more maximal load. That is the second adaptation. Just always relate it back to the rowboat example, and it'll really help you. Now, the third adaptation from our central nervous system is increased fiber synchronicity, which means that they all fire in unison. Again, back to the rowboat example. If you take everyone is rowing, they're all rowing fast, but let's just say they're rowing at different times now. They're like, let's just say this person's rowing at every odd second, this person's rowing every even second, this person's rowing in between those two. It's not going to generate as much force. If they all row at the exact same time, they're going to go as fast as they can because they're going to have all three factors playing into their speed. Same thing with strength. That is another one. Your muscle fibers learn to fire at the exact same time to generate a maximal load. You can use a different analogy, use a tug of war. If one person pulls, then another person pulls, then another person pulls, it's not going to be that strong. But if everyone pulls at one time, you're going to pull a heavier load than you can. Same thing with your body. Your body learns to, the muscle fibers learn to all work together in unison. So again, your body learns to recruit as many muscle fibers and eventually all the muscle fibers it can to push a maximal load. It learns to those muscle fibers learn to fire faster, and increased muscle fiber synchronicity. They all fire in unison. Those are the factors from the central nervous system that help you push more weight. So for everyone saying that, oh, a small person can't be strong, or oh, you were pretty tiny, you can't lift that much weight, they have no idea what strength is. It is annoying and it's extremely ignorant. People who aren't ignorant, and there's probably a lot of you watching right now who have seen world-class power lifters or people in the Olympics who maybe don't look as big as bodybuilders, because remember, bodybuilding, on my other video, bodybuilding is an adaptation of the endocrine system, but these smaller power lifters or Olympic lifters can lift a lot of weight. It's because their central nervous system is very adept. But remember, size does play a factor. Again, for like just one example is a bigger chest for a bench press. It decreases the amount of distance you have to move down. So yes, size does matter, but it's not nearly to the extent that central nervous system does when it comes to strength. So again, if you see someone small and they're lifting a lot of weight, remember, it's a central nervous system adaptation. Don't get confused by that. Now, well, you know all this, you know what strength does. Well, how do you train? I talked about this the other day in a different video. You could check that out on my channel too, but this is probably the one training modality, strength training, that I would say you really need absolutely no accessory movements. Almost all compound movements. You can throw in accessory movements if you want to have some aesthetics to look better. But if someone said, I don't want to do accessory movements, it would not compromise their strength one little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some movements that you can throw in which are still compound movements that may help, for example, training your rotator cuff, for shoulder stabilization, things like that. But generally, I'm talking about like bicep curls and calf raises. Those things really don't help. You want to stick to compound movements, which are multi-joint, multi-muscle group movements like squats, deadlifts, bench press, push press, overhead press, lunges, things like that. Those will really help strength. Two, you should train if you're going to a strength sport, you need to train in the gym what you are going to train in. If you're doing a bench press, you're competing for a bench press, and you're working with dumbbell press all the time, dumbbell press could help bench press, but nothing's going to help bench press more than actually doing bench press. Because again, your central nervous system learns to work in that motion a lot better. Again, there's other things you can do to add on to that, but you need to do those movements. Now, you need to train heavy, obviously, but for people who don't know, that's why I'm saying that. You have to train heavy. 75% is the least of your 1 rep max, I would say. That's the least. Preferably a little bit higher, probably 80-85% of your 1 rep max, all the way up to your actual 1 rep max. Make sure you have a spotter if you're going for that. Again, training in that rep range is going to train your body to move maximal loads. If you're training in 20 reps, but you're trying to increase your one rep max, your body's not going to learn to train its central nervous system to fire in synchronicity. If you're training higher rep ranges, your muscle fibers may fire asynchronously, which means some might fire here, then some might fire there, and like half fire, then half fire, then half fire, then half fire, because they don't want to get tired. But that's another video. That's like endurance training. But again, you need to train heavy if you want to have these adaptations for your central nervous system. Now, this is the biggest one, is rest periods. Rest periods. You need to have a minimum, and remember, you could vary from this, but generally, if you don't do this right here, what I'm about to say, you will not see any great strength gains. You need to have 2 to 5 minutes rest between each set. The reason that is because, and I'm not going to go super in depth on this, I'll say it real quick, but I'll have another video for that. This video is already kind of getting long. Thanks for sticking with me. But you need to have 2 to 5 minutes rest periods, is because the energy system that drives strength training, because everything runs, we need energy to do these movements, is the, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the phosphagen system, is how I say it, or phosphagen system. ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is used for every muscular contraction that we do directly. There are other things that generate ATP indirectly, but we need ATP to lift a weight. To put it simple, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, lets us pick things up off the ground, lets us move. Now, when you lift strength training, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and then indirectly what fuels ATP after ATP runs out is creatine phosphate, fuels strength training. And it takes 2 to 5 minutes for those to regenerate or rephosphorylate to come back. So let's just say you ignore what I say and you are doing heavy reps, heavy weight for squats, and you wait a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. Your body is not going to replenish the ATP and CP that it needs to lift that heavy load. So you're not going to be able to hit that weight, or you're going to be able to hit it in a very crappy way with bad form, or worse, you're going to have to lower the weight, which is the whole point of strength training, is to lift heavy weight. Remember, you're not trying to train for muscular hypertrophy with short rest periods and a lot of metabolic stress. You're trying to have central nervous system stress. So you need to make sure you're basically almost fully rested for your next set to be able to handle that heavy load, to challenge your central nervous system to be able to do that. So again, 2 to 5 minutes rest period, 75% to 100% of your 1 rep max, or simply for the 1 rep max, it's 1 to 5 reps, no more than 5 reps, probably 1 to 3, and compound movements. Again, increased muscle fiber recruitment, increased fiber firing rate, and increased fiber synchronicity. Again, this is strength training. Basically, that's how you do it. If you don't do it, there's other things that you could do to break a plateau, but if you're not generally training like this, you are not strength training and you are doing it incorrect. But again, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out my Facebook page. I'm going to put it below. Please go check out my Patreon page too. I post a little bit of other stuff there too. I really appreciate it. If you have a friend or something that wants to learn more about this, just send them to my videos. Again, all views are very helpful. If you want a direct question, just go to my Facebook and message me there. But until next time, see you.